Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. We were just talking, the speakers and I, how dynamic and innovative the whole atmosphere of GCF is and what a difference it's making in the region and ultimately in the world. With respect to our panel in particular, the NGO work, humanitarian work is undergoing a transformation. The old model was really trying to alleviate poverty by means of direct giving, and that's still an important cause, especially in regions where there are famine and disaster, war, and so forth. But the next phase of entrepreneurial giving, entrepreneurial philanthropy, if you will, even venture capital philanthropy, is to help people around the world create jobs and prosperity, create companies, create innovations, become more active agents in the creation of global culture and prosperity. And we have here today a wonderful collection of leaders of this global movement. On my own side, I've been, for the last 8 years, head of Flow, an organization that promotes entrepreneurial solutions to world problems. We're focused on legal systems. Much of the world, the legal systems don't really allow ordinary people to be entrepreneurs by means of excessive red tape. Saudi Arabia is actually to be commended for its improvements on the doing business rankings of the World Bank. That's one of the criteria that we need to help countries in Africa, for instance, is improve the ease of doing business. I'm also involved in entrepreneurial education. I think conventional education sometimes creates passivity and dependence. We want to promote education that encourages activity, experimentation, and the creation of new companies, new ideas, new products and services. So with that very brief introduction, because we've got a lot going on, and I want to get to Q&A and conversation at the end, I'll introduce our first speaker, Basma Al-Omer, CEO, Khadija bint Khawailid, Center for Business Women. Go ahead, Basma.
I'm going to have to speak standing because I don't want to give everybody my back, but I will concentrate on this area because this is where the monitors are. Okay, it's not working. We're having technical issues. Next slide. Okay, should I wait or should I continue? What do you guys want? Should I wait or continue? Okay. No, but I need it for, I can continue the first 2 slides, but I need it for the rest of the presentation. Okay, who's Khadija bint Khawailid? A lot of people, I'm going to get dizzy. A lot of people know her as a businesswoman and the Prophet's first wife. And this is about almost all that they know. However, as an entrepreneur and as a businesswoman, there's a lot that we can learn from her as a role model in Islam. She started out, she was a widow with 3 children, and she did not just give up and wait for Quraysh tribe to, okay, here it is. Well, there was a quiz, who was Khadija bint Khawailid, but I already told you. Prominent businesswoman, religious scholar, and she's all the above. Okay. She's a widow with 3 children, as I said. She did not go on welfare. Things that we teach today, women. If you become a widow or a divorcee, there is things that you can do. You don't just surrender to your situation. She started her business small in Mecca region and then expanded to international trade. Things that we also teach businesswomen to start small and then expand. Now, in her recruitment and performance evaluations and recruiting people to work for her, when she expanded her business, she used word of mouth, things that we do today as well. In doing so, she recruited Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, to work for her. Recruited him not because he had past experience or a degree in business, but because of his ethics and values. Things that we tell all businesses today to concentrate in, because we have a lot of the economic crises. Most of it, I believe, had to do with the lack of business ethics in doing business. Now, she concentrated on that. When he went on her behalf to trade in Syria and Yemen, she sent with him an evaluation appraisal, which was her slave, Maysara, to come back with an appraisal report. And although he came back with the biggest profit ever, she did not divert her attention from asking about his appraisal report. And she found out that he did his job with a high ethics and values. And she increased his bonus scheme based on the profit, things that we do also today in business. These are things she did 1,400 years ago. Now, last one that I would like to talk about is self-confidence. Women and self-confidence. She was 15 years older than him. The Prophet worked for her, and she had the courage to ask for his hand. Now tell me, how many of the women here today have the courage to ask a man for his hand? I don't think a lot of us, although we claim we're in the 21st century and we're confident women. If you remember in the 90s and 80s, everybody had to be a size 0 to be accepted as a woman. And then when everybody became anorexic, they said, guess what, size 14 is okay. So now in 2000, size 14 has become acceptable in society. She had the self-confidence back then, and she lived a love story with him in which she bared all his children. I can talk about Sayyidah Khadija for hours, but only have 7 minutes, so I must continue. So the question that we raised today, the question is, do women have supportive infrastructure to allow for equal competitive opportunities, since we are talking about competitive forum here today? Do we really have the infrastructure to do that, or are we really starting way behind men? So what is a woman's life cycle, so we can understand if we have equal opportunities and competitiveness or not? This is important that this works. A woman graduates college, she gets married, she has a baby, she has more babies, she expands her family, and then she starts taking care of her older parents. This is an age that we all go through. And then you're caught between the two generations, the mother and this is really bad, the mother and the daughter. Okay, so you're caught in between. In some situations, you get a divorce and you end up having to deal with family issues. This is more to add to a woman's plate. Okay, she also needs to fulfill herself. With all the entrepreneurship opportunities, whether as an employee or as an entrepreneur. I'm really apologize for this. I would have been done by now. Okay, so working and having a family and going to work, it's a big challenge for women today. Okay, do you take your work home? Do you take home to work? Do you leave the kids at home? Do you work from home? What do we do to give that balance? Because we do not want to struggle and have society suffer when we are away from the home. So women are juggling all the time. This is what we feel like, whether we're an entrepreneur or a working woman. Okay, we go to work sometimes. We get calls all the time from kids. You fathers here, you start your fatherhood after 5. We're mothers 24/7. We never stop. What we do not want is this. We do not want men to stay at home and us to go to work, okay? This is a no-no. This is not what we want. What we want is balance. So how do we get the balance, okay? And how can everybody help us get the balance, whether we are entrepreneurs or working women? Infrastructure needed. Okay, infrastructure needed. We need transportation, public transportation for women to go to work. We need daycare services providers so women can go to work. And we need gender-sensitive legislations, okay? Now, with King Abdullah taking the throne, a lot has changed in women's empowerment, okay? I will just briefly say a couple of the things. Women now, as you know, are in the Shura Council and the municipality elections. They have reached leadership positions, such as Deputy Minister, Vice Mayor of Jeddah, Deputy Chair of the Chamber of Jeddah. Women are now allowed to be board members in CEO companies and family-owned companies and IPO. So all of you board members here, start getting women into your board system. You will see great changes into your company. Women are now allowed to have business licenses in real estate, construction, contracting, services. This was all not allowed for women. These are all changes happening today. And women can get licenses in any business equal to men. Now, there's nothing restricted to her. Okay, I have a businesswoman report here with me, a copy. It will tell you a research that we did nationwide that tells about the obstacles and challenges still facing women and the changes and things that they need as entrepreneurs. This was done nationwide. Basically, they want ease of loans. They're having difficulties finding loans. They want issues with marketing and marketing their business. I really apologize. Religious reform, use of technology, regulation reform, use of technology, and what network opportunities are lacking. I have a copy of the report if anybody wants to read it, and this is a brief, and thank you very much. Was I 7 minutes?
It was brisk.
How many minutes?
Well, you would have been 7 minutes if the technology had worked. You were great. You were great. Thank you. And now we have Andrew Davenport, CEO of the Prince's Youth Business International. Go, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Michael. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think we all realize that economic progress drives social transformation, and of course, when you have common interest groups, social transformation drives economic progress. I represent a global network. We work in 34 countries helping young people start business, people between the ages of 18 and 35. Youth unemployment is at historic high levels, and obviously in the MENA region, this has a very serious impact in the times that we live. Young people most young people obviously start out with very few accumulated assets, and they also find it very difficult to get access to help, to start a business, to take their entrepreneurial talent and get on the road. It's been our experience in working in different environments that the combination of, a holistic combination of skills training, startup capital, and volunteer business mentoring are a really vital combination to help young people, particularly those who start from a position of challenge in their lives to start businesses. We recently conducted a survey in 21 countries of over 1,000 entrepreneurs, including some Saudis, and we had the following feedback. We learned that 55% of our young entrepreneurs said that their success was due to the non-financial resources that they had received in starting a business. We learned that 54% of entrepreneurs felt that it was more easier for them to repay their loans because of the result of non-financial support. 70% of them said that the best part of non-financial support was the financial literacy that they learned along the way. Mentoring is particularly important. Business mentoring is particularly important for young people, not least because a critical element here is confidence. And our survey showed that fully 80% of young people felt that their confidence was transformed as a result of having a long-term business mentor. Now, when we look at the support that we supply to young entrepreneurs in and around the world, and in Saudi Arabia we are the Centennial Fund, we bring together three components. We bring together public sector capital. This is really very important. If you look at the gains for the public sector for supporting youth entrepreneurship, they are incredible. Public sector capital is absolutely vital. From the private sector, we work with a lot of multinationals who are interested in using their skills, particularly in the volunteering and providing specialist training to young entrepreneurs. And then we have the structure itself of the delivery to the young entrepreneur, which essentially is an NGO, an independent organization. In the space of the last 25 years, YBI members have established over 110,000, helped young entrepreneurs establish over 110,000 businesses and create around 300,000 jobs. Now, if you're going to work with the business sector and you're going to work with the public sector and you're going to raise significant amounts of capital, then you have to turn up and be professional about it. Key to this is understanding the impact of what you're doing and having the systems to monitor and measure and evaluate, not only at a local level, the impact that you're having, but also to enable you to benchmark and able to aggregate that information to be able to real-time provide information to donors, to impact investors. This, in youth entrepreneurship, has been a pretty fallow field for a long time. And it is the combination in this process, not just of the technology that's used in the microfinance space, but also the combination of the mentoring and the non-financial support integrated into that system, which is a critical way of assessing the efficiency of the support that's provided. Mrs. Manal Al-Azuri is a great example of one of our entrepreneurs. She's had a very tough start in life. She found it very difficult to get a job. She was absolutely determined to work and, if possible, to start a business. And she was introduced to the Centennial Fund, and she was able to establish a business, a boutique business, that now makes an annual profit of $24,000. The Centennial Fund came forward with help to help her evaluate her business plan, with a volunteer business mentor, and with the access to loan capital. And this has made an extraordinary difference to her. She has a mentor which really makes up for the fact that Manal started out with a lot of the assets that those who successfully start businesses in the world automatically have. And I mean, of course, those who start businesses in family with family capital and family know-how. And what we're doing here is just replicating that for young people who don't have those assets. And the Centennial Fund is a very strong organization. We're partners with many organizations. In fact, there was an announcement yesterday with one of the sponsors of this great event of an entrepreneurship academy, helping some of our young entrepreneurs in the area of technology. It is also, with YBI, part of the Youth Entrepreneurship Alliance of the G20, and working with the Centennial Fund, we are launching a commitment through the Clinton Global Initiative to expand these kinds of programs within the Middle East. This is difficult. It is actually very difficult to help young people start businesses. It takes time, but if you can bring together this cross-sector partnership and you can engage the nearly infinite and wonderful pool of mentors, people like yourselves prepared to give of their time and their experience, then you create a sustainable machine. And unlike a lot of initiatives, I believe this is one that has demonstrated that it's going to scale. Thank you.
Wonderful. We are moving. We may have time for questions even. Julian Gorbuth, Interim CEO, STARS Foundation.
Thank you, Michael. Good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum. If, when we visit the world's poorest countries, we do find amazing people. We find resilience. We find entrepreneurs on every street corner. We also find amazing organizations in those communities addressing those needs locally. Why not invest in them? Some facts about the international development world. 20% of global aid flows of 150 billion remain tied aid. In other words, if I give you that money, you need to invest that money back into my economy. Norway spends 1% of gross national income on overseas aid, which is pretty good. The UK should be reaching the target of 0.7. The US, net giving, obviously amazing. Percentage-wise, not looking so great. Unfortunately, although there's huge progress with the MDGs, the Millennium Development Goals, for the 1.5 billion people that are living in conflict-affected countries, not a single one of those MDGs is going to be reached by 2015, the target date. But there's some good news. International development is increasingly G20 and beyond, not only G8. Private donors, the Bill Gateses of this world, now give $30 billion each year to overseas aid, and corporate giving has risen since 2007. The idea that the STARS Foundation has, following the vision of Amr Dabar and the Dabar Group, is that you can find and reward excellent local NGOs and that you can encourage entrepreneurial approaches to social problems by empowering those organizations and the individuals who deliver. So we've come up with some very simple programs that do that. Impact Awards, which is a social investment. It combines unrestricted funding. By unrestricted funding, I mean funding that has no strings attached. We combine that with a tailored consultancy package and media support, which gives those local organizations not only the media training, but the profile that they need in order to be able to network, in order to have credibility, in order to fundraise. And impact partnerships, which is access to practical support from companies and other organizations in mission-critical areas. So we allow organizations that are often really concerned about delivery to actually stand back and address issues like governance, communications, strategy, fundraising, and so on. Now, we have a lot of applicant organizations each year, and we found that over half of those organizations are basically straitjacketed. They have no freedom to move. They're living in a funding cycle that moves from one year to the next. They are totally project-orientated. They are slave to their donor. And this doesn't allow them to be entrepreneurial at all. and many of them recognize that as a major challenge to their effectiveness. So we want to scale up both the awards program and the corporate partnership program, and we want to prove the case for unrestricted funding. One of our award winners was Sense International India, and I'll cue the film, and Akhil can tell you why. So what? So what is the most important question in development? Please.
I think getting selected for the 2009 Stars Foundation Award, the Impact Award, has been one of the best things which happened to Sense International India. One reason, because it made us strengthen our own mechanisms and systems. The due diligence process, which is evaluated by Stars Foundation, made us go through a brilliant process of retrospection and self-introspection, that where our mechanisms are going wrong, whether we have right kind of policies, we are following the transparency rules properly or not, how accountable we are to public because we use public money. All those little things and large things, we were able to put that tick mark in each boxes, and that made us really a strong organization. Apart from the money which Stars Foundation gave us, we got a lot of mileage, and we got 3 awards, 3 national level awards after that, from the Credibility Alliance once, then we got Resource Alliance Award because of our accountability and transparency policies, and we also got an award from the IIM, Indian Institute of Management, Lucknow. So all these awards and recognition came because of the recognition from Stars. Not only awards, let me also talk about the fund which has helped us to sustain many of our programs, because they would have been closed down due to lack of funding. There were some commitments which were lost during the process of recession, the last recession. We are still not out of the recession in many countries, even in India. But the Stars money at that point helped us to continue those programs and made sure that deaf-blind children get uninterrupted educator for 3 years, still going on, which is a huge support from Stars. And also the money which is left over, we have invested in a bond which is helping us to generate some income, which is again helping teachers and deaf-blind children through programs and activities.
Okay, this is what we call the multiplier effect. Most donors or most partners who are looking to go into this kind of relationship invest over on the right-hand side of this table. They tend to invest in program, and they tend to invest in scale-up and perhaps quality of that program. We're trying to encourage partners, donors, investors to move across to the left, and even better, to allow those local organizations who are doing the delivery the choice to invest across any part of either organization, profile and brand, or program. Because if you invest in some of those things under organization, and if you invest in some of those things under profile and brand, you get the program results. Now that seems obvious, I think, to business leaders, but in the NGO world, in the CSO world, it's not something that we've really been allowed to do. So we hope to scale up over the coming years, and we hope to be able to expand this innovative approach to give freedom to these organizations. Yesterday, in one of the panels, entrepreneurship was equated directly with freedom. And I don't see why we can't apply that freedom to local delivery organizations in the same way. It is the philanthropic imperative to take risks. For us, this means scaling up. It means removing that straitjacket, getting NGOs off the starvation diet that they're on currently with the kind of funding restrictions that they have. And I leave you with a quote from Jim Collins: "Restricted giving misses a fundamental point. To make the greatest impact on society requires, first and foremost, not a great organization, a great organization, not a single great program." Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Now we go to Mohammed Rezwan, Executive Director, Shudula Swanivara Sangsta.
I am from Bangladesh. Not mine.
Go ahead and tell them.
Okay. This is not my slide. Okay, this one. Okay. I am from Bangladesh, the country known by its social entrepreneurs. We have Nobel laureate Professor Muhammad Yunus, who founded Grameen Bank, that provides poor women with small loans that they use to launch a business and tries to lift their families out of poverty. The model has spread over continent and reached over 100 million families. Another example from our country is Mr. Fazda Hassan Abed, founder of BRAC, that went international by taking its development interventions to 8 countries across Asia and Africa. BRAC is successful in adapting its integrated development model across varying geographic and socio-economic context. In countries where government fails to meet the basic needs of their populations, social entrepreneurs use entrepreneurial principles to organize, create, and manage a venture to achieve social change and create social capital. This is why our country needs more social entrepreneurs. Also, because of future challenges, Bangladesh is in the front line of climate change. 1/3 of the country floods annually during the monsoon season, and extreme floods cover up to 2/3. Climate change has increased the flooding in recent years. Over the next 40 years, 17% of the land will be lost to the sea, resulting in 20 million climate refugees. I was born and grown up in a small village in a flood-prone part of Bangladesh. Later, I studied architecture in the capital city. I considered dedicating my life to building schools and hospitals, but then I realized they would be underwater soon. I was hopeless, but then I thought of boats. I didn't find anyone to invest on my ideas on floating communities. Then I started working as a social entrepreneur and founded the non-profit organization named Shidulai Shwanibar Sangsta. I took a complex problem, flooding and poverty, and developed a simple solution that balances the needs of everyone involved. With roads impassable during the monsoon season, students cannot make the trek to school. Therefore, it is common to see school dropouts in our region. I thought if the children cannot come to school because of lack of proper transportation, then the school should come to them. This is how the idea of floating school came. It took me 4 years to generate funds to build the first floating school. When it launched, I was the first one to believe on it. I knew that it is going to bring the change in our flood-prone community. Considering the other basic needs of the community, activities like floating library, which you can see on the picture, floating training center, floating health clinic, and other income-generating activities, including solar lantern, were developed to connect both the social and economic progress in our community. In Bangladesh, over 70% of rural families do not have the access to grid electrification. Many of them rely on traditional kerosene hurricane lantern for lighting. We have introduced Zubair hurricane. It is called sun lantern. It is an innovative low-cost solar lantern made from the recycled parts of the traditional and much used kerosene hurricane lantern. We teach women on lantern manufacturing and marketing. They work on the floating solar workshops. This lantern provides families with high quality and light in the evening for children to study and women to do craft work to generate income. It has created new businesses in rural communities. 50% of rural Bangladesh population is landless. There is always growing demand on lands. About 8,000 kilometers of waterways and 1.3 million of ponds are in our country, and most of them are not utilized. We decided to use this as resources to develop a new kind of farming to reduce the dependency on lands and create economic opportunities in our area. This is an innovative eco-solution for landless people because no land is required and also less time is needed as fish, vegetable, and poultry farming are done in 3 different ways on the water. The solar system here maintains the egg production. It has the floating garden that ensures the availability of vegetables during the monsoon. This project enables the poorest and most vulnerable people to create employments, develop assets, and improve their quality of life and nutritional status. It helps people to getting out of extreme poverty and adapt the climate change induced flooding. We have integrated the technology with our traditional components of our society. And here we use traditional knowledge, labor, and materials to develop very user and cultural friendly designs. We have ensured the community participation in the project design and implementation. Bangladesh is a country of 160 million populations, living within a small area of 147,000 square kilometers. Our country has very limited resources and now strongly impacted by climate change. This makes it very difficult for social entrepreneurs like us to help our own community. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have Jack Sim, founder and CEO of the WTO, otherwise known as the World Toilet Organization.
Hi, everyone. So I founded 2 organizations. It's very apt that the World Toilet Organization and the BOP Hub, which is the base of pyramid, which is the 4 billion people we're going to talk about. There's 7 billion population in the world today, and all goods and services are produced for the 3 billion people who are middle class and rich. And the 4 billion people who are poor are excluded from our formal economy because it was taught originally that they have no money to buy stuff. But even the poor has many different kinds of poor. They have some income. They don't have a lot of money, but they always buy something. So if you see in this particular place, this is a water marketplace where the poverty women are buying water. And when you think about ourselves, we get water free of charge. We turn on the tap, we get water, but they have to buy or they have to fetch from long distance, from a well, sometimes up to 4 hours of walking. On the other hand, in the developed world, today we have economic crisis, we have a lack of customers, and we have a situation where there are more manufacturers, there are more producers and suppliers than customers, especially when Europe and America has buy less and less now because they are entering financial difficulties. So this is a wonderful inflection point and a moment in history where the new customer becomes the poor. So instead of looking for only customer in the developed world, right now you can look for customer in the poverty sector. If you look at this woman, she's carrying a pot on her head, but she's also carrying a cell phone. So this woman is a customer for telcos. And telcos has discovered that there's such a big marketplace and it's the fastest growing handphone market in the whole world, because in the developed world, everybody has already got 1 or 2 or 3 cell phones and the saturation point coming nearly. Now, there are also a lot of other sectors into low-cost housing, sanitation, filtered water, cooking stove, education, ICT, the list goes on, transportation, even rural entertainment. So this is a really, really huge marketplace. What happened is that there are a lot of technology, there's customer, there's supplier, there's all this technology that are available to produce, to sell to them, but yet there is no market infrastructure because all the time the NGO model of charity buying, as mentioned before, does not work because charity says to the poor, prove to me that you are useless, helpless, and hopeless, and I, the generous, will give you money and help you. This is not sustainable. This is condescending. This doesn't respect the poor. The economic empowerment model says that prove to me that you are willing to work to improve your future, and I will help you build the capacity to train you. Therefore, giving a man a fish is useless. Teaching a man to fish is much better. So I found that the BOP Hub, with all the existing technologies that are appropriate, a lot of social entrepreneurs has actually very, very good model, but they just never go to scale because they stay within their same country, same state, same village, and keep on helping their own people, but never thought that their ideas were so good that it could go to other places. Also, university with technology research, we can convert those good practices into products, into design, into mass production. Then we can produce things faster, cheaper, and better. And then find the distribution channel in the poverty sector so that we are able to sell them very, very affordable, extremely affordable prices and very, very good product appropriate to them. The BOP Hub wants not to reinvent anything, but to weave all the existing players together. And when we come together, we do things faster, cheaper, better, easier. So one of the examples is that the World Toilet Organization and Unilever CEO Paul Pullman has been a very supportive one. And we go together to build a sanitation model, and now we call it the Domestos Toilet Academy. We teach the poor how to produce toilet using simple molds. So for $1,000 that they invested, they create a factory. So one factory costs only $1,000, and when they produce with the $1,000, they buy the mold, they produce the product, and it includes working capital, cement, sand, stones, and labor. And then they start delivering. And who is doing the sales? The village woman, usually the housewife. They are very good with influencing the neighborhood. And they become the sales girl, and they sell on commission to the producer that we train. So with $1,000, we create 7 jobs and deliver sanitation perpetually. So these are the happy customers in Cambodia, and we are working in Orissa, in Nigeria, and also in Vietnam. So since sanitation can be a good model, we then expand it in the near future to solar lighting, to water filter, to low-cost housing, and all the other sectors. And what we're trying to do is to find other social entrepreneurs to distribute for each other. So all the resources that are around, we become an empowering model, but we are not the one who is going to run it. The local people are the ones who run it. If you see the charity model, the foreign aid model, very often, if you go into a poor location with a meeting, you find that they are all people from the first world sitting in the meeting with very, very few local people running the show. In our case, everybody is local. So the cost of empowerment is really, really cheap. So what we do is we focus on capability, on alignment, and everybody who comes in can do their job. Either it's for CSR or foundation wants a social impact, or the NGOs themselves wants to be able to self-help, and we create jobs, and we go into many sectors, including water sanitation, off-grid energy. And here are all the networks of supporters. President Clinton came to support with an endorsement on our program, and the World Economic Forum, Schwab Foundation as well, and in Ashoka, where both of Schwab and Ashoka, I'm a fellow, and the rest of the universities are coming in to help. This was last year when we go to New York, and he gave us his endorsement and to do fundraising for $750,000. So thank you very much for listening. Together, we can build a very vibrant marketplace.
Thank you. We have time for maybe 2 questions. So there we go.
My name is Hisham Al-Dabbagh, business owner and IMD business school, member of IMD Business School GCC chapter. My question to Dr. Bismil Umair: what is the role of Saudi leading women like yourself to help influence female outlook and ability to outperform and stand out with confidence as role model, i.e. Sayyida Khadija bint Khuwaylid radiyallahu anha? My second question: when are we going to see the first Saudi woman flying beyond the moon? Thank you very much.
First, before I answer your question, I want to apologize to everybody behind me for giving me your back. It's just the way the seating is, and it's very uncomfortable seating as well. The question was, how do we, as role models, influence women? Coming up with Sayyida Khadija. Well, I don't know if, I didn't have time to go into Markaz Sayyida Khadija, but the center is a lobbying center to empower women. So we work a lot with the government agencies to do the reform and legislation needed to empower women, given the balance that I talked about. So it's not just about getting them into the market. And we also do research, and we also do a lot of groups with, we have a lot of connection with the youth, women in college. And did I misunderstand your question? What is? What was the question? To help influence?
What is the role of Saudi leading women like yourself to help influence female outlook and ability to outperform and stand out with confidence as role model? What is, I mean,
I don't know what
is the role of a Saudi leading woman like yourself? We have many Saudi leading women.
I would rather not see myself as a role model or leading women as role models. We always go back to Sayyida Khadija being a role model. If they can connect with her, we're very well done. Just being ourselves and having the opportunity and the connection with them in education has a big role about self-confidence and hadith. So we're trying our best with the center and education. I hope I answered your question, but.
And then you wanted to know when the first Saudi woman goes to the moon?
Yeah, the moon. I think we'll start with public transportation, then driving. Moon will be later on. So right now, we're very realistic in our dreams. So we're not thinking of the moon.
Great. We've got one question over here.
Yeah, Dr. Suzanne Al-Qurashi, King Abdulaziz University. What is the role of the universities in training young people to set up a business?
Who's the question to?
Anyone of you.
But could you speak, the first part of the question was too
it's what is
Go ahead. More loudly again.
She asked the role of the universities?
Yeah, what is the role of the universities in training young people to set up a business?
To set up a business? I would say that for me, my wife, Magat Wei, yesterday was hard on MBA programs. I think that Babson and Acton MBA are 2 great MBA programs. In general, there is a danger of universities providing skills but not showing people how to take initiative. Peter Thiel, one of the founders of PayPal, just established a scholarship program, as it were, 20 under 20, where he gives $100,000 to a student under the age of 20 who drops out of college. So Peter Thiel, one of the great entrepreneurs of our age, has actually decided that universities are counterproductive to entrepreneurship. Many of the great entrepreneurs, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Michael Dell, John Mackey, Richard Branson, well, all of those dropped out of, they all dropped out of college. Branson dropped out of high school. So one of our challenges, I would say, is to create entrepreneurial passion and energy and direction while also giving the skills needed.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
I don't think everybody is going to become an entrepreneurship, and I don't think we should put out the goal that everybody is going to be an entrepreneurship. If I can answer about university, these chairs are very uncomfortable. If I can answer to the role of universities, I think we should go back to elementary school and high school, where we still need the soft skills. We're missing a lot of the soft skills, whether as an employee or as an entrepreneurship. And I think partnering with the private sector and getting training and on-the-job internships during college and high school is very important to not just have the role of universities be a theoretical. And when they come out to reality, they're in a bubble that we have as a private sector to burst that bubble and get them to know exactly what are the skills needed, initiatives, how do you teamwork, all these things. So I think the university is lacking that part in it, but there's initiatives that are happening right now.
And we're out of time, but Julian's next to me, so he asked for the last word. So 2 words from Julian.
I just hope that, I don't know, but I hope that business schools teach corporate responsibility as an imperative rather than as an option.
Thank you very much for a fabulous session. I think we're out of time, so we're actually over time. So please come up and talk to us individually, and I'm sure these people would love to answer your questions. Thank you.